Alright, today's lesson is going to be some questions, ACT MCA practice based on the radical stuff we've been doing in Chapter 6. So it's just a bunch of questions. I'd have a notebook, pencil, and a graphing calculator, and just try the questions before watching the solution. So it's all over material we've covered, so I'm hoping that you'll have some idea how to do them, so I would try them first. Alright, so here's our first one. Two solutions to this equation. See if you can find, and then you have to do the sum. The ACT does this weird kind of, we have to find the sum, but see if you can find the two solutions and then add them together. Alright, so hopefully you had a chance to try it. So I put this one on here because when you solve an x squared and x, your choices are you can do the quad formula, you can do the graph method, alright, and you can factor, potentially. Okay, so quad formula always works, graph will find any real answers, and factor only sometimes works. So this particular one, I think it does factor. If we try, we do x and x for the x squared, and then multiply to negative 12 and add to 1. So if we multiply to negative 12, it'd be 1 positive and 1 negative, and then I think it's just 3 and 4. That multiplies to negative 12, but adds to 1. Alright, and if we set these to 0, okay, then we'll get our two answers of 3 and negative 4, minus 4 from both sides on this one. So the sum of those is negative 1. I know that's kind of weird to find the sum there, but that would be your answer, negative 1. Okay, and I can't stress enough, right, so I did factor method here, but like graph also works, right? So if you want to see that method real quick, you just need a 0 on one side, and then find the x-intercepts, right? So this one, when we graph it, it should cross at negative 4 and 3. Okay, so in my calculator, I just hit the y equals button up here, x hat thing 2 plus x minus 12. I'm just typing in my equation. It should be 12, not 11. Hit graph, and boom, you can see there's our answers at negative 4 and positive 3. Okay, so it's the same answers as we got here, but it's just a different way to do it with the graph method. So for sure they'll be solving x squareds on the ACT/MCA. Okay, next question. Pause the video, give it a shot. Okay, and this is really just going over what the heck does this mean. And it doesn't mean f times negative 2. It means we have a function named f, which is defined over here, and put in a negative 2 for x, and what do you get for an output? So basically, we're going to input negative 2, right? So f negative 2 means replace these x's with negative 2 and do the math. Evaluate it. So I'm going to put it in place of both of the x's. Okay, and now we just got to do all this math and do what PEM does. So do the exponent first. Negative 2 squared. Sorry for the poor handwriting. And then multiply next. So this is 36. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Okay, and then just add all these up. So this should be positive 26 minus 8 should be 18, I believe, is our right answer. Alright, next one. Again, I would pause the video, give this a shot. Alright, so this one is composition, which we learned the other day. And it's just like passing a number into one function, in this case h first, and then taking the result from that and passing it into the g function. So I'm going to work from the inside out. So I'm going to focus just on h of 2. Alright, so we're going to put 2 into the h function here. So that just does the x value cubed plus the x value. So I put 2's in right here for there and there. Okay, so h of 2 evaluates to 2 cubed is 8 plus 2 more. H of 2 is 10. Okay, so basically we can replace this h of 2 with 10. Right, which gives us g of 10, right? This h of 2 is a 10. Okay, so now we just got to do g of 10, and you can see our definition right here. It just takes the input x times 2 plus 3. So we have to do 2 times 10 plus 3. So we get 20 plus 3, which is also known as 23. So this whole thing, g of h of 2 is 23. Start on the inside, work your way out. Okay, next up is solving a radical. In class, we did equations, right? We solved these with equations, but an inequality one is really similar. So pause the video and give this a shot. Okay, so to solve this, get rid of this square root and just square both sides. So that will clean up the left-hand side nice and pretty. Right, it cancels out there, so you just have x minus 1, and then just add 1 to both sides, and so we end up with x greater than 26. Those are all our solutions. All the x numbers greater than 26. Yeah, and remember on these inequality solvings, you reverse this sign if you ever multiply or divide with a negative number, and we didn't do that here, so the sign didn't switch. We just squared both sides and then added 1, so we don't have to flip the sign at all. All right, last one is solving again. All right, pause the video and give it a shot. All right, so in this one, it's kind of long and it's a little bit elaborate, but I can't stress this enough. If you had no idea how to do this, you could just plug them in, right? Like, for example, if I put 1 in for x and see, does that make a true statement? So I end up with the square root of 3, and that's certainly not equal to negative 3, so I know that that's not right. Okay, so like if you have no idea, you can always work backwards off the answer choices, right? Because I'm going to do the work here in a second. It's going to be a mess, but, you know, just to show you this one more time, like if I tested this 7, you could say square root of 7 plus 2 equals 7 minus 4. Is that true? So we could say square root of 9, is that equal to 3? And boom, that one looks good. Okay, and then I would keep testing, right? Because it could be C or D too. But, you know, that's one way to do this question. Okay, if you want to do the actual math, I'll show that next here. So the actual math for solving this one is get rid of the square root by squaring. Right, and when we square the right-hand side, make sure all of it gets squared. Left-hand side cleans up, just x plus 2. And then on this side, it's tempting to write x squared minus 16 or plus 16. But basically, that little square there means we have 2 of these. So we've actually got to do our FOIL process. All right, so we're going to do x times x, negative 4 times x, another negative 4 times x, and then a negative 4 times negative 4. And I'm not doing anything with the right-hand side yet, or left-hand side, sorry. Clean this up, combine these in the middle. So we have x squared minus 8x. Okay, and then this is what we did earlier, right? So now if you have an equation that has, right, both x squared and x in it, right, we've got to think our methods for solving that are quad formula, factor, or we can do the graph method. Okay, so any one of those methods needs 0 on one side, right? So I would start by taking away an x and minusing a 2. So we end up with 0, and then we have x squared minus 9x plus 14. Okay, and again, I showed the graph method earlier, which certainly you could just type this in your calculator and find the x-intercepts. Just because it's fast here, I'm actually going to factor. It won't always factor, like, you know, you can't always find numbers that multiply to 14 and add to negative 9, but on this one we can. It's just negative 2 and negative 7. All right, and then if we set them to 0, right, we're going to get answers of 2 and 7. Okay, and then the only thing that's tricky on this is why I recommend at the start just putting them in and checking. is we've got to check for extraneous. So I think the final answer on this one is going to be just 7, right? Like we kind of checked that in the beginning. I'm kind of out of space here, but if we check 7, let's see. If I put 7 into this equation, right, it worked before we did square root of 7 plus 2, and that did equal 7 minus 4. Right, we got root 9 equaling 3, so that one checks out as a good answer. And I think this one's going to be extraneous. Sorry, that looks terrible, but that says x is 2. So if I put it in, I'm going to have the square root of 2 plus 2. And we want to see, does that equal 2 minus 4? And we get root 4, which is not equal to negative 2. Okay, so basically, because this came out false, that's not an answer. So the right choice here is letter B, because 2 is an extraneous solution. So the only right answer there is 7. Okay, and I find this kind of confusing because, like, I feel like root 4 could be negative 2, but treat it as the positive root there, and so it's not equal, right? Root 9 is equal to 3 because we're doing the positive root, but this one, if you think of it as a positive root, it's not true. So long story short, 2 is an extraneous solution, so the only answer is 7. Right? So this one is a lot of work, but it might have been easier just to like put them in and check right away, and we would have got just B as our answer. All right, that's it. Next up is a set of random practice questions.